Ahoy there, nautical truth seekers. My name is Aries Ezra, and you've just boarded the illustrious ship Nautical Awakenings, where we take daily deep dives into Esoterica and sail steadfast through the waters of eternal truth. Today, we set our course toward a mystery older than most can imagine, yet more relevant now than ever, the mystic tradition of alchemy and its mirror in human psychology. What if the transformation the ancient alchemists sought wasn't outside of you, but truly within yourself? Gather your gear, set your compasses, and batten down the hatches. We're about to get nautical. Most people think of alchemy as a primitive science, a failed predecessor to chemistry. The stereotypical image is that of robed old men in candlelit stone chambers, hunched over flasks, desperately trying to turn base metals into gold. This ignorant interpretation barely scratches the surface. Real alchemy was never just about material transmutation. It was, and still is, about the soul's transformation. It was a coded language for the inner journey, hiding sacred truths from the uninitiated. The lead that needed transmuting was our unconsciousness. The gold, our awakened self. Alchemy has roots stretching back to ancient Chem, the Egyptian name for their land, which literally means the black land, referring to the fertile soil left by the Nile. It is from this term that we get alchemy, or alchemia, the art of the black land. But it also symbolically referred to the dark, mysterious prima materia, the chaotic, raw matter from which the alchemist would begin the great work. This spiritual science made its way through ancient Greece, becoming deeply intertwined with Hermeticism, a mystical tradition attributed to the mythical Hermes Trismegistus, a synthesis of the Egyptian god Thoth and the Greek Hermes. From there, it passed into Arabic culture during the Islamic Golden Age, where scholars like Jabir ibn Hayyan expanded its scientific basis while preserving its spiritual dimensions. By the time it reached medieval and Renaissance Europe, alchemy had become a complex fusion of science, magic, art, and psychology. To the true adepts, the great work, the magnum opus, was not just a matter of refining metals. It meant purifying the soul, confronting one's own darkness, dissolving the ego, and uniting the opposites within. The lead to be transmuted wasn't only physical, it was symbolic of our dense, unconscious tendencies. The gold was the luminous state of inner harmony, spiritual wisdom, and divine union. The stages of the great work were wrapped in cryptic names and esoteric symbols. Nigredo, or blackening, represented death, decay, and the collapse of illusion. It was the beginning of spiritual alchemy, the dissolution of the ego, and the disintegration of old patterns. This is akin to the modern psychological concept of ego death, or the breakdown of the persona during deep shadow work. It is the dark night of the soul, when everything we thought we were is brought to ruin by the fire of truth. From this darkness emerges Albedo, the whitening, a stage of purification and illumination. In psychological terms, this could represent the integration of the shadow, recognizing and accepting the hidden or repressed parts of ourselves. In Albedo, we begin to see our true reflection, unclouded by distortion and illusion. The alchemist begins to stabilize what was previously in chaos. Then comes Citrinitas, the yellowing or spiritual awakening. In this stage, the purified soul begins to radiate wisdom and clarity. The sun rises within the psyche, symbolizing expanded awareness and higher consciousness. While often overlooked in modern interpretations, Citrinitas represents the dawn of insight, the soul's understanding of its divine origin. Finally, Rubedo, the reddening, marks the culmination of the great work. Here, all aspects of the self are integrated. Spirit and matter, masculine and feminine, light and shadow become one. It is the sacred marriage, the hieros gamos. The soul, having passed through death and purification, now returns to the world whole and radiant. This echoes the completion of Jung's individuation process, the integration of the self. It was Carl Jung who first recognized that these stages weren't merely symbolic descriptions of chemical processes, but archetypal journeys of inner transformation. Jung saw in alchemy a kind of proto-psychology, a symbolic system that mapped the soul's development. He realized that the texts and images the alchemists left behind were like dream symbols, filled with unconscious meaning. Their laboratory experiments were mirrored in internal psychic shifts. Jung interpreted the Nigredo as the confrontation with the shadow, the painful recognition of our repressed desires, fears, and trauma. Albedo was the phase of healing and clarity, where the ego begins to work in cooperation with the unconscious. Rubedo, in his framework, was the full realization of the self, a unified psyche in balance with its inner and outer worlds. In this way, alchemy becomes a guide for the modern psychological journey. Let us take a brief pause to give thanks to a sponsor that fuels my own great work, Dubby Energy. When you're diving deep into the soul, reading ancient manuscripts, or just getting your move on, Dubby's clean, crash-free energy keeps the mind sharp and the spirit steady. No sugar, no jitters, no artificial aftertaste, just focused fire for your intentions. Check the link in the description and use my code Aries11 for 7 to receive 10% off your order and keep your inner flame stoked while supporting this channel. Thanks to Dubby and all my subscribers for keeping this channel afloat. Now, let's return to the fire. Alchemy didn't just leave behind ancient texts and cryptic drawings. It left a legacy that influenced the very structure of modern science. Arabic alchemists developed distillation, crystallization, and sublimation. Paracelsus, a Swiss physician and alchemist, transformed the field of medicine by insisting that illness had both spiritual and physical causes. He believed that true healing required the alignment of the microcosm, the human, with the macrocosm, the universe. Even Isaac Newton, the father of modern physics, secretly wrote extensively on alchemy. To him, the universe was not a dead machine, but a divine manuscript, and natural laws were simply expressions of God's will. He believed that spiritual insight and empirical observation were two sides of the same coin. Today, we see reflections of alchemical thought in quantum physics, where reality itself seems mutable. Matter behaves as both particle and wave. Observers change the outcome. Non-locality defies the Newtonian clockwork universe. In these paradoxes, we find the Hermetic principle of as above, so below, as within, so without, echoing louder than ever. Alchemy is also deeply alive in Eastern traditions. In Taoist internal alchemy, practitioners transmute sexual essence, Jing, into life energy, Qi, and then into spiritual awareness, Shen. The aim is not escape, but transformation, to refine the body and spirit into harmony with the Tao. In yogic and tantric practices, Kundalini energy rises through the chakras, awakening higher consciousness and dissolving illusion. The symbolic union of Shiva and Shakti is another form of the alchemical wedding. In our modern world, alchemy reappears in therapy, shadow work, energy healing, and plant medicine ceremonies. When we face our traumas with courage, when we integrate our wounds into wisdom, when we turn pain into power, we are doing alchemy. We are transforming base experience into spiritual gold. The Philosopher's Stone, long believed to grant eternal life and transmute lead into gold, is not an object to be found but a state to be achieved. It is consciousness refined by experience. It is the awakened heart. It is the soul resurrected from fragmentation. So if you find yourself in a period of darkness, confusion, or collapse, know that you are not lost. You are in Nigredo. The fire is sacred. Let it burn. What comes after is clarity, wisdom, and the sacred return. You are not breaking down. You are breaking through. The great work is not just for monks or mystics. It is for all of us. It is the hero's journey. It is the wounded healer's path. It is the divine cycle of death and rebirth written in the language of the soul. If this voyage lit a flame within, drop anchor in the comments and hammer on that like button and subscribe for more weekly deep dives into mysticism, metaphysics, and the mysteries of consciousness. Leave your comment below. Have you experienced your own alchemical awakening? Let's share our transformations in the comments and remind each other that the gold within is real. Until next time, this is Captain Aries Ezra, signing off from the bridge aboard Nautical Awakenings. Fair winds and following seas to all my spiritual shipmates, and remember, the deepest treasure is not buried in the earth, but hidden in the soul.